Perfect. Clive, thanks for joining us, mate. It's been a while since you and I caught up. Been a couple of years back in England, and you and I have been mates for a long time, and it's good to just to have a chat. You've had a lot going on in your cricket career, and I know there's a lot of the kids up at the club at South Northumberland where I'm working now. I'll be interested to hear what you have to say. How are you surviving the lockdown over there?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's starting to get really cold here in Hobart, but yeah, it's good to talk to you again. See you. It's been a while.
Define really cold, mate.
Yeah, freezing. I hated it when I was up Crook that time.
What were we talking? 10, 15 degrees, 20 degrees?
Oh, yeah, it's about 10 degrees at the moment. It was colder. It's going to be colder tomorrow.
Because you're in Hobart now at the minute, aren't you? You're not in Melbourne.
Yeah, no, I'm in Hobart.
Tasmania is a bit colder than where we were in Victoria. Yeah, so a little bit of context. Clive and I have been friends for a long time. So in the area I was in Australia all the years I've been travelling, Clive was obviously one of the preeminent cricketers in the area. And then in 2012 it was, wasn't it? We got you over to Crook to play some cricket, and you were the overseas for a year. Can you remember that? Way back when?
Yeah. Some fond memories. I was 21 years old and grew up pretty quickly, moving away from home for the first time. But yeah, really enjoyable time for me.
You just won the Ryder Medal in 2012, hadn't you? So in Victorian Premier Cricket, which is the level down from first class cricket, the umpires every week vote 3 votes for the best player, 2 votes for the second best, and then 1 vote for the third best or most influential player in the game. And then at the end of the year, all those votes are counted, and there's a very prestigious awards night, isn't it? I mean, it's at the Melbourne Crown Casino. It's a really big thing. And in 2012, you won that, didn't you?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to win it that year. First year that my team actually made the finals for about 15 years. So it was actually a really successful year for the club as well. But yeah, it was a good year for me too.
I think we beat you in the semis, did we not? Did Dandenong not beat? Did Dandenong not beat Casey? It was,
yeah,
we should have
won that game too. We were 6 down. We needed about 50 runs to win, 60 runs, and we got bowled out. But yeah, I do remember that. It was the only time we made the finals, or I played finals for the club, and your team pipped us in the.
And then you came to Crook, so a little bit of context in that. So I was coach of a team called Dandenong. Clive played for Casey South Melbourne, it's basically like say Newcastle or Sunderland. Both teams are very close to one another, didn't like each other, a lot of rivalry, a lot of competition. And then Clive's the best player in their team. And then, we'd be going out on a Friday night or a Saturday night after cricket, and I've been to Clive, come on, let's phone. Because the coach was a guy called Mark Ridgway. He was a hard ass, really, wasn't he? There's no other word to describe him. And it'd be like, come on, send Ridgway an email, tell him you're coming to Dandenong to play for me. And can you imagine what would have happened if we'd have done that and wound him up?
Oh, actually, a couple of years before that, I got a call from Dandenong asking me to move down there and play, and Reggie caught wind of it and rang me one day, and he basically convinced me to stay at Casey. Basically strong arming. He basically said to me that he'd run me down to the car park if I ever left Casey and went somewhere else. So I sort of stayed at Casey, but yeah, it was a good move. I think I stayed.
And he'd have probably meant it as well, Reggie. He wouldn't have taken that. He wouldn't have taken that lightly. I can imagine in the 8 or 9 hours or so when we've gone to sleep, if we'd have sent that email to him at 2 or 3 in the morning, by the time we woke up, it'd have probably been and burned Dandenong rooms down.
It would have taken England, I reckon. Country.
Good memories. Look, the idea of having a chat today is just to have a look at some of your BBL stuff. I mean, I know you've had a really, really good career. You've always been, preeminent junior. I know you played Victorian under 15 state level stuff, and of course, later on, back in 2007, went on to the World Cup with the Australian in Malaysia. But just to give the listeners a little bit of an idea of what you're about, I've dug this out. I don't know if you've seen this. It's a little bit of a video footage from 2017, 2019.
Bed in the cupboard, seeing if they can get an early look. Clive Rose has done a bit since we saw him last. Used to be short back and sides, then last year went...
What's going on with the hair there, mate?
So that was the first time I got box braids done, and I normally tied them up into a bun at the top, and it looked a bit better than that, but I couldn't fit it in my hat, so I had to open them up and put them down, and that's And after the game, when I actually saw what it actually looked like, I was a bit disappointed about how that looked, I guess. And yeah, I found a way
Certainly
to
got you some attention.
Yeah, it did. Not that I wanted it, but yeah, it did get me a fair bit of attention after I did it. But yeah, it was supposed to be up in a bun, but I couldn't fit it in my hat.
Let's just play this through a bit and see what it looks.
He's really wrapped it up. Nice bowling. Yep. Look out. Oh, no, there's real trouble. There's going to be a run out here. Bryant's going to have to sacrifice himself.
It's Clive Rose. Productive off the first couple of balls.
Pull him about the crease a little bit. That's out.
It's gone. He's gone. Oh, that's close. Yes. Sirree.
2 to come. Rose moves around the crease.
It was a 4, it's just been confirmed to me, not a 6. He might be in a bit of trouble this time. Eddie, great throw. Seb.
Faster between the wickets than I remember.
Moves around his stumps. They will settle for a single. Sliced away, down towards third man, 2 in a row.
Striker's end. Oh, that's a no ball. So it's 4 off the bat. Get the extra for the no ball. And now Rose has a free hit.
It's all good stuff. Do you ever get? Do you ever think about the fact that you're on television all the time when you're playing your cricket these days? I mean, as a kid growing up, they're not really the things you think about. You just want to play and get the free kit and give the autographs out. What about the television?
Yeah, I never really thought about it, to be honest. I remember when I was growing up, like, I was always fighting to try to get into the team, the Victorian team at the time, and all I wanted to do was play one-day game at the MCG. That was just I said, if I played one-day game at the MCG, I was done. That's happy. I'm happy if I never played it ever again.
Yeah, you got that with the Vicks, didn't you?
Yeah, and I was lucky enough to play. That was the year before. That was probably the last game I played before I went to Crook. Actually, that was that year. So yeah, I was lucky enough to play a few more one days, I guess, and some games there on TV. But it was never something that I really thought about until it happened.
That was a televised game. I remember watching that. We were talking about this before we started the interview. There was literally about 200 people in the ground, and I reckon 170 of them were there to see you in the game. And every time you scored a run when you came out to bat, all that happened was that you hit the ball, and it was generally down to third man off the outside edge, and the crowd, there would be like an almighty noise, and the camera would pan across, and of course there's 120 of Clive's family there just screaming and dancing and enjoying the time. But you got a few as well, didn't you? You didn't get any wickets, I recall, but you got 20 or 30 not out from memory.
Yeah, I remember that game. I bowled really well. I felt like I bowled really well that game. You could bowl 12 overs in a one day then, and I bowled my 12 overs for about 50 or 60 runs. So I bowled really well. Had a few chances that were missed, but didn't take a wicket. But batted, and I think I was like 29 not out in the end. We almost chased them down. But yeah, it was a game. It was my first game, and my family had been really supportive of me throughout my whole career. There was about 40 of them in the crowd, and there was about 50 people in the crowd that came to watch the game, and 40 of them were. And every time I did, the ball came to me or I made a run, it was pretty loud. They made it pretty loud. It sounded like there was 40,000 people in the crowd.
And of course, there's a 90,000 capacity at the G, and you can basically hear a mouse fart when there's nobody in there when you're on the ground. Did you get any stick for that? Was anybody getting into you, the fact that you were,
Nathan Lyon, who played for South Australia at the time, I think I was on about 6 or 7, and I was laying everything off to third man off the fast bowlers, and every time I hit the ball and got a run, the crowd would erupt, and my parents, family would cheer. And Nathan Lyon walked past me, and he's like, do they realise that you haven't hit one in front of square yet? And I was just so pumped and happy to be out there batting at the MCG that I didn't actually care.
Say anything back to him?
Nah, not even a word back to him. I was like, I don't know what to say to that. But you're probably right, but yeah, what do you want me to say?
So you roll in the team, you bat in grade cricket. You won the medal for being, I remember you got over 400 runs and 40 odd wickets. Ball left arm orthodox, and you're a good middle order batsman at that level. I know when you were professional at Crook, you batted at the top 3, 4. How do you get frustrated in that when you play higher level cricket, they use you predominantly for your left arm orthodox, given that you are such a competent batsman? I mean, all jokes aside, you are a good player with a bat. Do you ever get frustrated? They stick you down, 8, 9, 10.
No, I never got frustrated. I got frustrated when I batted like 10 and 11. Last few years I've been starting to bat like 8, 7, 8, and 9, which I don't mind too much. I know my role really well there. I enjoy doing that role. In that, I'd love to bat in the middle order or high if I could, but I know that there's more capable batters in the team, so I'm happy to play my role in 8 and 9. Yeah.
And in the BBL then, so you had a couple of years of Victoria, didn't you? And you started off 2012. I remember you were over here when you found out you'd been picked up by the Melbourne Stars. So that was the second year of the BBL franchise. I mean, Melbourne Stars was literally like, they were the Harlem Globetrotters, weren't they? They had everybody. Warney was in there. Maxwell was in that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, they certainly lived up to their name, the Melbourne Stars. I was lucky enough to go over there, and they had Warney. They had, I think Luke Wright played over there as well. Jade Dernbach was there too. They had some really good players over the years. David Hussey. At one stage, they had all the captains from the other states in Australia playing in that team. Yep. So, I was lucky enough in BBL 02 to BBL 05, I think it was. I played for the Stars for 3 years. I was with the Stars and played some amazing players. And Viv Richards was there too for a couple of years.
And you were his chauffeur, weren't you, for the time? I remember you were always driving him around everywhere. Well, you're just like, was that your add-on? Was that your incentives based in your contract? Viv chauffeur.
Well, I was staying at the hotel because I was living in Tassie for the last 2 years, and Viv was there as well, living at the hotel. So whenever we had to go to training or to the game or to the airport and stuff, I was the one that he jumped in the car with. He'd come in my car and I'd take him to the games. And at the time, I didn't really think anything of it. I'd met Viv and we had a good chats and we got along really well. So it was never a big thing for me. But now that I look back on it and talk to a few other people, it's like, actually, wow, that's actually something people in the world want to do. And I had a really good opportunity then. And
what guy was he? What guy was he then? He was there as a mentor, wasn't he, basically? That's all. That's how much money the Melbourne Stars had. They just flew him in just for cream.
Basically, yeah, he was the team mentor. And he was a good man, to be fair. He was really good to have around the group. He was fun. He didn't really talk a lot about cricket tactics and stuff. He spoke the way he thought about the game was more like war. And he'd tell you that. It was like he's going out there to the war. He thinks that the bowler's trying to kill him and he wants to get the best of the bowler. So he didn't want anyone to know that he was hurt or, that he was scared or that's why he had that swagger about him. And that's how he speaks about the game. And it worked for him and that's really good. But he was.
Who was your first game? BBL, Melbourne Stars.
The first game was against the Adelaide Strikers. Warney, I think he was going out with Liz Hurley at the time, and it was around Christmas time. So he opted to go back to England to have Christmas with her.
Yeah. As you would. Game of cricket, going off Christmas with Liz. Yeah, as you would.
And I got the opportunity to debut, which was awesome. I was in front of a crowd of, 25, 30,000 people, I think, in Adelaide Oval.
Was that the New Year's Eve test match, BBL game? Was that the?
No, I think it was like it might have been Boxing Day game, the Boxing Day game.
Yeah, okay. Your role in Big Bash has been notoriously up front, bowl 2 or 3 of the overs in the power play, and then, a key over at a key time. Your job's very, very specific with the ball, isn't it? Was that how you started off as well? You bowled the last over in that game from memory, didn't you?
Yeah, so I looked at myself, and this is how my role was in Premier Cricket as well. In club cricket, was to bowl in the power play. I bowled 1 or 2 in the power play, and then I'd bowl, 1 or 2 in the back end of the game, and finish off the end. In my first debut game, I bowled the first over and the third over of the game. Yeah, and then I'd bowl in the middle somewhere, and I didn't get a bowl. And it got to about the 15th or 16th over. I hadn't bowled yet, so I was like, my job's done. There's plenty of other bowls.
And you don't want to bowl by now, do you?
Yeah, and it turned into there was 2 overs left, and the team needed, I think the Adelaide Strikers needed 30 runs or something to get. And before the second last over was bowled, Cameron White was captain. He came over. He's like, "You're bowling the last over," and I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, you're bowling the last over." I said, "All right, perfect. Give me the ball then." And then when I went to bowl the last over, I think they needed 22 runs or something like that to win.
And who's on strike?
And yeah, he won the game. Karen Pollard was the batter.
So it's not a lot of runs to
first.
Karen Pollard at Adelaide Oval either, because I mean, generally speaking, he's not going to hit you straight where it's long. He's going to try and pick you up.
Yeah. So that was the plan. So like I got to the top of my mark, and Cam White basically asked me, he's like, what's your plan here? And I said, well, I think I'm going to go bowl some wide hole, and then go at his heels for one.
Yep.
And go really slow and wide. Keep it away from his swinging arc. And he said, perfect. That's a good plan. Go with that. And
he's a big man, Kieran Pollard, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a big man, and he was pretty daunting going up there to bowl, because I think a few hours before that, Clint McKay had a run in with him as well, and they were getting into each other.
I remember that now. Yeah, C-Mac stood toe to toe with him, didn't he? They stood literally nose to nose. I mean, he's not the smallest bloke, Clint McKay, either.
Yeah. So he was pumped and he was ready to go, and I think my first 3 balls might have gone for 3 runs, I think, or 4 runs.
Yeah.
And basically, when I knew the game was over, Cam White came over. He's like, "Don't bowl a no ball or wide, and you've won the game. Good work."
Yeah.
And I was perfect. And I lobbed the next 2 balls up that went. I think they didn't get the first one back. That one went out of the stadium, and the second one went even further. Won the game, and I think I celebrated after getting hit for 6 that last ball. And the commentators were like, "Never seen anyone celebrate after getting hit for 6."
Carried on like a goose, and you lost ball.
Yeah.
So 3 years there, and then you went down to Hobart. You've had some good success down with Hobart, haven't you? You've been consistent for them. You've had a consistent role of opening. I mean, let's be honest. It's a tough job taking a ball that's probably not going to spin on a wicket that's been rolled to death to be as flat can get, and it's your job to bowl the tough overs at. I mean, generally speaking, you've got the best players in the world at the top of the tree. You know, most teams have a hired gun that's, you know, an overseas player that's a batter, and they're going to go up first and they're going to try and take you down. And teams are wanting anywhere from 50 to 60 in the first 6 overs. I mean, your career record is outstanding. It's it, and just to give that a little bit of context, you know, Hobart, or the Belrive Oval down in Hobart, people, is one of the flattest wickets going around, and you've existed at 8, and that's terrific. What do you do? How do you do that, Clive? What's your plans there, mate?
When I moved down, I think probably why I had so much success at the Hurricanes was because of Damien Wright. You know, I played a lot of cricket with him in Victoria and then he took the Hurricanes, and when I moved to the Hurricanes, he knew what I could do and what my role would be, and he was really clear with me. And I think that resonated really with what helped me be so consistent is I knew what my role was in the team. I was going to bowl in the power play. Yeah. And when batters were going hard, I was the defensive bowler that would come on and bowl. So yeah.
So what sort of things are you trying to achieve there? I've got 2 questions for you. That's one of them. What sort of things are you trying to achieve? And secondly, how much of what you're doing is led by you, or how much of it is led by the coach? Are you very much, is it an autocracy where you have to do this, or is it when you get out there, you feel what's going on and you decide?
So when Roddy was coach, it's different. Depends on what the coach is and the captains you play under, I reckon. But when Roddy was coach, he was really good. He said, "This is what we want from you. This is the overs you're going to bowl," and he was really specific with me in terms of that. And then when the new coach ran, Gary Kirsten and then Adam Griffiths, the last few years came on, they were a lot more like, you're probably gonna bowl in a power play, and you might get something in the middle. So you be really versatile with where you can bowl, because that's how you're going to keep yourself in the team.
What's your basic plan?
My basic plan is to hit the stumps. I think that was the thing that's helped me the most, hitting the stumps. The more percentage of balls I can get hitting the stumps, the more successful and more defensive I can be, making batters hit me off the stumps. And then the second thing I'm worried about is my length, making sure that I'm hitting the top of the stumps. You don't want to be giving...
You don't want to get too close.
Yeah. And I think, especially at Belrive, where there's always one long side of the boundary, you want or square the wicket. You know, you want to be like... Darcy Short has really good success there because he bowls the ball into the wicket. And you see all of his wickets, and a lot of his wickets are the ones that get caught in deep square because he bowls... If he misses short, doesn't miss
short.
Full. Yeah, so that's something that I've worked on a fair bit over the last few years is making sure I'm hitting the top of the stumps. And if I'm going to miss my length, I'll make sure I miss shorter than fuller, because most batters now can hit half volleys.
Yeah. And generally speaking, everybody can clear the boundary now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's interesting. Just would like to show you, if I may, just go back to the screen. Overseas players, I'll come to them in a minute. So this was your squad. This was your squad this year. George Bailey, how did you go with him in his stance? I mean, in going through those names, David Miller was overseas. James Faulkner is a name that people will know over here. I mean, he's still going, James Faulkner. He's only 30, but he's had a terrific career. What I really want to ask you is, how did you go bowling at Darcy Short in the nets? I threw balls at him this year or last year when I was at Durham working up there, and I genuinely did not want to bowl the ball past it. I can get down quite quickly with the sidearm, and I did not want to get past halfway because he hit it frighteningly hard. It was scary.
Yeah, look, I learned pretty quickly not to bowl to him in the nets. But if I had to, it wasn't too bad for me because it actually made me bowl a bit more defensively. I'd bowl a lot of balls at his hip so he didn't hit it straight. And then if I did bowl it full, I was bowling really wide outside off and make sure I didn't get his swinging up. But yeah, I've seen him he hit Gary Kirsten, the coach was throwing balls to him one day and hit him in the face and broke his jaw, and it was really bad. And he hits him harder than I've ever seen anyone hit the ball. Like Aaron Finch hit the ball hard, but I actually think Darcy Short hits him a lot harder than he does. And
you see people now with full kit on serving balls to batsmen for 2020. And I remember there was one game, I think it was the Yorkshire game, I threw balls at him at Durham and he hit a ball back at me, and I swear to God it missed me. If it had been straight, I just couldn't get my right hand up with my mitt on to catch it. And honestly, it scared me to death. It really did frighten the life out of me.
When Gary got hit, the day Gary got hit, it was actually the day before that. I was talking to him and I was like, "Oh, how come you don't wear a helmet like the other coaches when you're throwing balls?" And he goes, "Oh, I don't catch it. I don't feel like I can catch it if I've got a helmet on because I can't see the ball." And I said, "Okay, fair enough." And literally the next day, that's when he got hit. And I think from now on, he actually starts wearing a helmet.
It's not fun. What's Matt Wade like to play with? He's captain, of course, isn't he? When he's with you.
Yeah, he's not bad. He's an intense. His work ethic is really good, especially with when he's working on his batting stuff. He's got really good knowledge of tactically of the game and stuff. And that he's a very intense captain. Everyone's different when they take the reins over teams and stuff. But he's one that can be quite intense when the team's under a bit of pressure. He can be pretty intense. But as he's getting older, I think he's realizing the balance of when to actually put the foot down and actually.
Yeah. Does that intimidate you as a cricketer? How does he compare to, say, Cameron White or, say, Ben McDermott, who's captain when Wadey's not playing? Different captains, different styles. Do you feel, because Wadey can lose his toys quite quickly. I know he can. Do you feel under any more pressure, knowing that if you stuff it up, that you're going to cop that, or not really?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the captain's really important. In terms of giving bowlers or players confidence. And some of the best captains I've played under are the ones that it may not be very vocal, but it's more their body language. And Wade he's quite good when talking to him one-on-one, and he comes to the top of your mark, and he's really good at giving you the leeway of if you think you can do something or if you feel like this is what's best.
Yeah.
Then he's happy for you to do that. Whereas someone like Cameron White might not be as intense as Wadey, but he'll come up to the top of your mark most of the time. He'll be like, "All right, this is the field I want you to have to him, and this is where I want you to bowl," and then he'll walk away.
Whitey was very much one ball.
Yep. And I felt, especially early on in my career, I played a couple of games with Cam White, and that's what he was like for me. And I actually really liked that he had a good plan. He knew what I wanted to do. I'd tell him, "Oh, I think I should do this," and he'd be like, "No, you're doing this." And I said, "Okay."
It's very noticeable watching him.
And I'd go and do it out of work. So I built a good. But he's definitely one of the best captains I've actually played under tactically. Him and Tim Payne are tactically the best captains, very similar captains too. Payne used to be like that too. He used to be like, oh, well, this is the field I want you to have. You keep bowling this line or you bowl this length and we'll be fine. You just concentrate on doing that and I'm going to move the field here. And I actually really enjoyed playing under captains like that, personally.
So look at some of these overseas players you played with, mate. So your first, back in this list here, by the time you got down there, Darren Sammy was your first, wasn't he? Tell us a little bit about.
Yeah.
I mean, he typical West Indian. He's from St. Lucia, I think, Darren Sammy, isn't he? He just wants to bowl as fast as he can and smack it as far as he can. Laid back Larry. I remember. I know Otis Gibson quite well. I remember he told me some time ago that it looked like Chris Gale was going to get the bullet as captain of the West Indies, and he said Sammy will be captain. He said he's just a lovely guy. Everybody loves Sammy. Easy going. He's perfect. And sure enough, like, God, you look back and you know when you find stuff out and you think, like, he was coach of the West Indies at the time, Gibbo, and you think, should have put some money on that. Could have made some money off that. And sure enough, he's captain of the West Indies. What was he like to play with?
He was awesome. I actually really enjoyed playing with him. I got along with him really well, and I learned a lot from him as well. He you're right, exactly what I said. He's a player that I can see that he gets along with everyone. He knows how to speak the language. You know, how in terms of cricket knowledge, when we're talking to people, because you know there's different characters in teams. He understands. He's quite I think, intelligent man. You know, he spoke to me about Marlon Samuels, for example, who's a different kettle of fish to, you know, if he's talking to Marlon Samuels, always talking to Chris Gale, you got to talk to those people differently. And we had some good chats about that. And he had some good chats to me about my game and how I can actually get better and some of the stuff I can do to show captains, I guess, that they can trust me with the ball. And he was the first one that said to me, he's like, you know, I look at you at the field, Clive, and I see you, sometimes you're not quite sure of yourself. He said, I don't want to see that as captain because I don't trust to give you the ball then. You got to want the ball. You got to demand the ball from me. And I'm more likely to get the ball in those situations. And ever since then, that was the confidence that I needed to show the captain so they can give me the ball.
Yeah. Just going back to that list. Just showed us again, interestingly, 2 names below there. You got Kumar Sangakkara. What was Kumar like to play for? I know you played all the games with him, didn't you?
Yeah, Kumar was he's exactly what everyone else says about him and what you see about him. He's really, really not a very intelligent man, and a really
he's
nice
beautifully
guy.
Spoken, isn't he? He's
yeah, that's right. He's quite measured when he speaks. Knows the game really well. He taught me a few things also about how to play spin and things he does when he's playing spin, about how to get a bit lower, get underneath the flight of the ball, get your eyes underneath the flight of the ball, not stand so tall. Yeah. But yeah, he was really good. And even though he had a horrible BBL in terms of his standards, and I think he got dropped at one stage. He was still, even when he was dropped, he was around the boys. He was doing everything he can. He ran drinks. He threw balls to play. He always spoke to the batters. He, always tried to help the young blokes out. He was the perfect overseas player. Even though I think as overseas players sometimes you may not play very well, but just because you don't play very well doesn't mean you can't impact the team in other ways. And I think that's something he did really well. He impacted the team instead of on the field, off the field. He helped a lot of the batters out and took a lot of the young blokes, especially me, under his wing, and helped us out every chance he got.
Excellent. What about a big name over in England at the minute? It's Jofra. Was that hair on that video? Was that like you wanted to be Jofra?
Well, actually, it's funny you say that because when I actually wanted to get that hair, I wanted to get some cornrows done.
Cornrows? What's those? Yeah. What, like dreads?
Yeah, so Joff gets them done all the time. They're pulled back.
Right.
And I got them done, and then it came to training session, and Joff had them done. Right. So I was like, I can't. If I walk out in the field with the same haircut as Joffrey, they're going to think I'm copying him. So I actually got rid of him.
You see, this is the insecurity that Darren Sammy was talking about. So you didn't for a second think that everybody was going to say Joffrey's copying you.
Yeah, well, that's what I probably should have thought, but I thought the other way. But yeah, Joff was a legend. Speak to him and Tamar Mills as well. I speak to them all the time now still. but good people again. Like Tamal didn't have a great Big Bash the couple of years that he was down.
And he had massive raps on him, didn't he?
Yeah, and he did really well the last a few years ago, and I think it was IPL auction was coming up too, so he had a bit more pressure on himself too.
I think he went. I can't remember where he went, but I seem to recall he went for like. Was it ridiculous? Was it a couple of million he went for? 2.1 million or something?
He went. That was before IPL auction before that, and he came to us just before the next IPL auction. And I think he had a bit more pressure on himself, and he had
a lot of pressure.
He had been injured for about 6 months before that, so he played his first game with us, and he hadn't played before that anywhere else. And you can tell that he was a bit out of sorts. You can tell that he had raw pace and he could bowl fast, but he just missed his length a few times, and you could tell he wasn't game fit just yet.
Of the three quicks you've had over there, Tyrone Mills, Jofra Archer, and Sean.
Broad was there.
Who
as well? Hugh Broad. He came over with.
But Broady's. Yeah, but the South Australian, the slinger. Forgot his name.
Oh, Sean Tate.
Yeah, which of those three did you like the first in the nets? Did they ever bowl anything above medium pace in the nets, or?
Tamal did. Tamal actually let him go because he was still, trying to prove.
Needed to get back.
Joff never really bowled that much in the nets. Tatey bowled a little bit in the nets. I faced Tatey in a grade game in Hobart, and he was bowling at about 50%, but geez, he was intimidating running in off the long run. Just a big man.
He's a massive unit.
He's a big unit, and it just looks scary running when he was running down. But if I was going to pick who the quickest was, Tatey was the quickest, definitely. That game against the Thunder, he was the quickest spiller bowling I've seen.
Who's the quickest you've batted against?
Mitchell Johnson was pretty scary a few times. One day game in a T20.
Yeah.
That was proper fast. That he bowled like length, top of the stumps, and I was trying to pull him to square leg, and I was bunting him back down to him. I wasn't getting the bat past my shoulders.
Trouble is, when you're facing, by the time you're batting in T20, you want to be scoring at two runs a ball if possible, and really he's running the ball and it's watch the ball. Please God, don't let him hit me, and it must be intimidating, scary. I mean, he's not going to. He only bowls two lengths. He's going to break your toes, or you're going to try and hit you in the head. There's not much in between with him, is there? Not in that level of cricket or that format of cricket.
Yeah, well, that's the good thing about white ball cricket. I keep telling the boys that you can back away, and people think you're just giving yourself room. It doesn't look like you're scared.
Yeah, good. Thanks.
If you're in red ball cricket, if you're backing away, it looks like you're scared because you shouldn't be backing away. But
how many times have you been scared when you batted?
Probably a few times, more than I could count. But that's facing Mitchell Johnson was one, and facing a Sean Tate in a grade game was the other one, I reckon. Just because it was a grade game, I didn't want to get injured. Probably was the other time.
You've got a lad called Riley Meredith over there, haven't you, who bowls fast outies that people over here won't have heard of yet, but he's coming.
Oh, yeah, you'll definitely hear about him in the next few years. He's a proper prospect. He bowls very fast, good control, and he's got good skills with the ball too. He can swing the ball both ways. He's a wiry kid, good fella, good character, and bowls, can bowl really fast and wants to bowl really fast too.
Yeah. It's good. Who have you found as your biggest nemesis in T20? Who's been hard to play against, bowl against, or bat against? Who have you found tough competition?
I think the hardest players I've bowled to are probably the overseas players, the blokes that especially from England, the guys that can sweep and reverse sweep. Really, really hard to set fields to guys that can hit the ball, 360. A lot of the players in Australia are generally, in front of the wicket batters, so you can set fields and you sort of know what they're going to play. But some of the English blokes that came over,
Banton was tough, wasn't he? Yeah,
Banton was one where he got really low and picked up. Even when I got a good length, he could still pick up my good length and hit it over square for 6, and he hit them really far. So he was tough. He was really tough last year bowling against him.
The thing is, Clive, now what a lot of people look beyond is that T20 now has been around so long. You've got cricketers coming to the fore that have known nothing like. I remember when UFC fighters first started, people were adapting martial arts to go into the cage, and they were excellent kickboxers, and they were doing a bit of wrestling, or they were excellent Muay Thai fighters, and they were doing a bit of jiu-jitsu. But now, you know, fighters are born and they're practicing everything right from the start. And some of these young cricketers coming through, that's all they've known. You know, I mean, I've had my career per se, but it wasn't taboo to go down and reverse sweep. What people are doing now, you know, they do that now. Like, God bless you, it's just an option, and that's what they say. Oh, it's an option. You know, Josh Butler ramp you over your head.
Yeah, I think that's one thing. I think I'm looking at it now. I see a bit more of that.
That's all they know.
People are still saying though, like, you see, if you have a look at the best T20 players in the world, you have a look at the guys that got the most T20 runs. They're all, they played Test cricket. They were still, they have the basics, and they're really good basics of batting. They can bat Test cricket. Like Chris Lynn, for example, never played Test cricket, but he averaged 45 in Shield cricket, which is amazing down here. So he still had the basics, and he was still a good red ball batter. So I think kids that are coming up don't get caught up with, I can just play T20 cricket and I can bat that way. You still need to have the basics under your belt before you can actually start playing these shots.
I found that,
100% go and practice them. You should be practicing them for sure, but basics are still needed.
I found that from a coaching perspective, I get a lot of kids coming in wanting to learn how to reverse sweep, or, you know, show me the Dilshan and rah, but can't hit a drive and keep still, or they fall across the front pad. You still got to have the fundamentals. And I think until you can get to that point, it's very, very, very difficult, because you know, in England, kids don't practice as much as, you know, in Australia, there's structured practice. The club that I'm at, South Northumberland, we have structured practice all the time. But there's a vast amount of clubs where they either don't have the facility, or they don't have the support of people to go down and take the session. It's very tough, because kids want to grow up and they want to be able to do it. And, you know, I remember a couple of years ago, there was in an under-11s game, a young bowler ran in. He mancad the. Are you a fan of mancad, by the way?
Yes. Yes.
Under 11s, the kid ran him out, mancad him, and then, you know, arms in the air and everything. They see it on telly. Are you a mancad man? Are you? Would you mancad somebody?
I don't think I'd do it, but I'm all for it.
Like it, don't you?
The non-striker shouldn't be leaving before the ball's been bowled, in my opinion. So it's just to keep them honest, I reckon. But I think on your point on players, I think in terms of the reverse sweep and sweep, a lot of people don't realise that's not the batter's first option. They play that shot. They play that shot to open the field up so that they can play something that they're less risky, which is great drive or whatever it is. Whereas I think kids watch the game and say, "Oh, yep, reverse sweep." They play that because they can, and not because they can, because they think it's a high risk shot, but they can move the field, and then they can actually open up. Oh, I want to hit this ball over the wicket, so they've got a guy at the wicket, so I want to play a reverse sweep first, and then once he moves the field, I can play that then.
Kids are not thinking like that, man. They just want to play the posh shot. You ever been close to the IPL yourself, Clive?
Never. I think I put my name in the auction a few years ago. That was about it. I never really, you know, I'd love to go. Obviously, I'd love to experience it. I'd pay my way to go over there and just spend time, a few months with the team. Look, I think India's got so many spinners, and there's a lot of international spinners that go over there as well. So I feel like, you know, I'm just another player going over there.
It's tough, isn't it? Because you'd have to be an international player to go, and there's so many. Everybody's available for IPL. So, look, that's all I've got for you, mate. I've had a good chat. You know, it's always great to catch up. Thanks for taking the time. I'm sure our members will be delighted when they get the chance to have a listen. And you know, good luck moving forward. You know, keep safe over there, and you know, hopefully, fingers crossed, we see a bit more of you on BBL coming up in December when it starts, if it starts. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Chavi. Cheers, mate.